So this is AYLESFORD, the Volvo. Yeah, we used to call him Moby, we've now changed it to a more Nordic and Viking sounding name. AYLESFORD has a problem. The problem is relating to this, but it's actually this. The problem is the last couple of times I've been driving this car, each time I've used it, the clutch pedal has been getting worse and worse travel on it. It's going shorter and shorter distance, and it's been biting further and further towards the bottom of the pedal. And the last time I took it out, basically I completely lost gears. I was just lucky if I could just knock it into any gear at all and then kind of rev match to get it into the next gear, and then praying I didn't have to stop anywhere and start the whole process all over again. Finally managed to limp it here and then turn the car off with it in gear because it was going to go through the garage wall otherwise, which is why it's been sat in this exact spot for a couple of days. So I really need to go and investigate what's actually wrong with the thing. I was going to go and sort out the radio, which is currently playing through one speaker occasionally, but no, I'm going to move on to slightly more important things than listening to the radio, since I can't drive the damn thing anymore. Let's get under the bonnet. God, the birds around here are a nightmare. Birds and cats are not ideal for a car owner in this area. Right, so I've had a bit of a poke around this system. This is the reservoir for the brake fluid, but it also seems to feed the clutch as well, which is the clutch master cylinder here, which has a hard line which follows down here, the many lines, down to the side of the gearbox, where it sits down here, and this is the clutch slave cylinder. There's a bleed on it just there, and that's where it actuates, if you can see that, onto the actual gearbox itself by pushing this lever here. My first thought is it's going to be either the clutch slave is failed, which is a very common problem, the clutch master, which is a less common problem, but the rebuild kits are very cheap, or I did have a quick look at the brake fluid, which I've not changed in the year I've had the car. God, that's tight, and that looks really murky. So there is the outside possibility that it's just the fluid is manky, but I'm going to do a couple of quick checks before I get going. So to start off with, I'm going to try and isolate where the problem actually lies, and I'm going to use a hose clamp, a brake hose clamp in fact, to clip off the slave cylinder and then push the pedal and see if it feels any different or not. You can use these things when you're doing brake jobs and have to disconnect the calipers and things, so you don't need to completely rebleed the system as well. Very handy and quite a cheap, useful tool. I can't believe I've not got hold of one before. So now I'll push the pedal and see if it feels any different. Wow, there's literally no movement on that whatsoever, which means my master cylinder is good, which is a huge relief because the master cylinder is obviously the bigger and more expensive one bolted to the firewall. Okay, so in that case I'm going to move on to step 2. It's a job that needs doing anyway. I'm going to go and bleed all the brakes and obviously the clutch at the same time, and maybe that will give me my pedal back and I won't have to go and change the slave cylinder. Right, I've gone and dug out the Easy Bleed kit from the back of the garage. This is one that runs off the spare tyre, and I'll be honest, I've never actually taken the spare tyre out of this car or even looked at it, which is really risky, because if you cast your mind back to a year ago, I bought this car in the dark and the rain, which is the perfect way to buy a car sight unseen off the internet, and I'd never bothered to look at it, and it passed an MOT, so I didn't even bother to look at it then either. I completely forgot. But it is an old Firestone, and a very old Firestone. I mean, look how cracked that rubber is, and also it is down to the wear limiters. So I think what I'll do is I'll clean and paint this wheel, and when I change these back tyres over fairly shortly, this Polaris, which I think was changed not long before I bought the car, is about as cheap as they come, but it's a fairly recent tyre with lots of tread. This can go and live in the boot, and this wheel can have a new matching Uniroyal to match the front tyres, because they're really nice tyres actually. Right, so I'll hook this on here. I've only got a couple of dregs of .4 left, and I'm waiting on a package right now, so I can't go out and get any more. My package is due between 11:57 and 12:57, so I'll make a start with the dregs I've got on the clutch, see if it makes any odds, and yeah, I'll probably have to go, well, I will definitely have to go and get some more before I finish this task. Right, wish me luck. That is now hooked up and pressurising the system, so if I get down here and take a moment to acknowledge the fact that I really do need to go and re-clean this engine bay after those 2 radiator explosions we had. crack open this thing and we should start to get a stream of fluid. Here we go. Some very dark and horrible looking fluid coming out. Basically we run this until it runs clear. That's as far as I can turn this 6mm spanner, so it's not running out very fast. And I think the tire might have gone flat. I'd actually like to have a easy bleed thingy that runs off the air compressor, because oh god, it's actually pouring down the side of the bottle. Excellent. What's gone wrong? Oh, it's not in the bottle anymore. Oh, right, a boo-boo. I was trying to use a little soft drinks bottle, thinking it was small and convenient, but it was actually too small, and the pipe just knocked it over. This is running through fairly goopily. I've actually managed to get a slot booked to the local tip so I can get rid of some of the stuff. Oh my god, there's black coming out of the bottom of the pipe. We can't see that from here. Do you know what I think? That's running clear now. Much improved. Yeah, check that. That's basically mud in the bottom of this bottle. It's absolutely disgusting. So how did the pedal feel now? Oh, that's loads better actually. Let's reconnect the battery and see if that actually changes gear. But still kind of notchy, but it's, well, much easier to reverse. It's tight, but it's better. I'll do the rest of the brakes and take it for a test drive. I thought I could get away without having to take the wheel off. I was kind of hoping to be honest, because those hubcaps are an absolute pain to get on and off. So yeah, every time you take those on and off, there's always a risk they might not go back on as well this time. So I was hoping to get away with it, but those bleeds, it's a double circuit system, are so stiff and tight. That you just can't do anything with them. I've got to take the wheel off. God, these studs are really, really stiff. I'm worried that one day they're going to shear or lose a thread or something. Yeah, new deep sockets coming in handy already. Should probably wash this wheel while it's off. I'd forgotten it was dual circuit at the calipers. Now here are the 11mm bleed thingies, and they're very, very tight indeed. I don't want to snap them, so I'm going to put some penetrating fluid on there before I make a start on that, because that could prove to be an issue. Alright, so I've soaked it in WD-40. I've been giving it a few little gentle taps with the hammer. Now, percussive maintenance. I'm going to try it in 11mm really gently, because I don't want to shear these things off, because I'm not buying a new caliper right now. Oh god. That's that horrible moment where you're waiting for it to either free off or shear off. And yeah, it's about the same amount of force for both. Oh god. But there's a relief. Now I've probably got just enough fluid to do this one caliper. Fortunately, my parcel has just arrived. That's pretty murky. So if that's to run clear, and that's nicer. This one is right by the master cylinder though. There's a dreg left. The parcel, incidentally, was my Nikon Z6 II coming back from Nikon UK. After they repaired it the first time, there was still a fault with it, so they took it back in again. And had to put a new motherboard in it. Because after I bought the camera, I used it maybe a day or two. That's running clear now. So that's how clear it now looks, instead of the dark, murky goo that was in there.
Here's what I found.
Shush, Siri. So yeah, I had the camera maybe 3 or 4 days. Then my old tripod head broke and it drops the camera on the floor. Went back to Nikon, had to have a new screen on the back, a new body, and various other repairs. Came back and it wouldn't go from still mode to video mode, so it was basically useless as a video camera because it wouldn't do video. And yeah, had to go back and then get new parts in from Japan. Overnighting from Japan, except it didn't take overnight, it took about 3 weeks. So now I've finally got my Z6 II back, which is a camera I basically bought to decide whether to stay with Nikon or jump over to Canon. Now, don't forget to put your bleed thingy-majigs covers back on again. And just the clutch and that one wheel has virtually flattened that spare tyre. So that's why I really want to be getting one of those kits that you run off the air compressor, because I'm going to have to go and repump that tyre up then. It's a lot of faff really, and I don't do it very often, but it just makes life easier. So kind of annoyed I'm doing this now, because I only put these cable ties on there not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to lose these hubcaps. This does need a quick top up. I've used most of it in just one clutch and one corner, one caliper. It's hard to believe it is actually the same day. It's only an hour or two later. I've popped down, grabbed, well, it's only a litre, but I'm hoping a litre's enough. I haven't bled brakes in a car like this for a long time, so we'll find out shortly. But yeah, suddenly I've lost the woolly hat, the jumper, t-shirt and sun protection all of a sudden. This too has been soaked with WD-40 just to try and get in there and free. Oh wow, that's not too tight, amazing. Oh, wow, I'm massively relieved. Now don't forget to put the spanner on first, because that's always an embarrassing mistake. Okay, nothing's coming out of this one, interesting. There should be stuff coming out of this, but there's not. So nothing was coming out. I didn't stop and film because I was cleaning up very rapidly, and it was just chucking loads of brake fluid down the side and into a puddle underneath the car. I think I had overpressured the spare tyre more than that seal could cope with. Well, the bottom one bled up fine, so I've got some brakes here at the front. Okay, two things before we carry on. First of all, after you've given it all the ugger-duggers doing the wheels up, always go in with a bar, and you really want to be checking just by hand, because you can't tell what the gun has done, so you want to know for absolute sure that it really is tight and not be surprised when a wheel falls off. Secondly, I'm not ignoring the fact that I'm down to one circuit of braking on this wheel. I'm just dealing with one problem at a time. I will return to that forthwith. Just want to make sure the clutch is working before I carry on with any different problems. So, interestingly, and I use the word advisedly, there's only a single circuit on the back, and it's only, what do I say, only a 9mm socket as well. I have WD-40 these up. Okay, that's good. Let's see how bad this is. Well, it's not too bad actually at the back of the car. That's quite interesting how the back end of the car looks better than the front end. Still moving like syrup. Much nicer. Although the cynic in me is thinking now, the reason it's so manky at the front is because there's a rubber component which is breaking apart and polluting the fluid. So probably it will need a slave cylinder. I am genuinely amazed at how easily all of these bleed nipples have freed off, because not one of them has put up much of a fight. Those front ones are a bit more reluctant to undo, but even they are fairly simple. Volvo quality, I guess. Well, that was, well, easy as advertised on the Easy Bleed. However, it did cause me a bit of grief because I kept having to top up the spare tyre to keep enough pressure in the system, and then when I tried to refill it a bit more to save constantly topping it up, it then blew all the fluid out the cap, and I've just had to clean up and hose down the inner wing, which you probably can't see because it's in deep shadow down there, so I don't get any paint stripped off by the brake fluid. So that was a minus point for the Easy Bleed just there. Now, more importantly, the brakes. The brake line that's not working is this lower one of these two hard lines coming out through the inner wing. It goes to this big connector block just here, and then off up to the master cylinder. Now I'm going to suggest it's either this big switch block just here, but I doubt it, so more than likely it's going to be the flexi line has collapsed on the inside. That's the most likely thing to have happened, so I'll order one of those up and change that fairly quickly. Now, quick test drive, make sure this actually works. Right, so just driven this down the road to an empty road country lane, and it just slots straight into gear now. So much nicer. I would actually say this is nicer than when I first bought the car. The hell is that? That was a tractor, there's a tractor spraying seed or fertilizer or something in the field. Really odd. Yeah, this is really, really nice. The clutch is so light now. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know why I never thought, or it occurred to me, that the hydraulics for both the brake and the clutch are the same. Otherwise I would have done this much sooner. This is actually really good. Right, now also going to try a quick emergency stop because, well, doing 50 miles an hour, hit the brakes hard and see what happens. Wow, that is really good. This thing stops on a dime, as they say. For the outlay of about 10 quid on brake fluid, that's a major upgrade to how well this car actually handles and is easy to control. I'm really pleased with this. Really, really pleased with this. For a few hours effort in the driveway, that's really good. This car gets better and better all the time. Now, the fact that there was so much black goo and horribleness in the front of the car's brake system and not in the back does suggest there is a rubber bush or, you know, a bit of rubber something breaking down in there, which means I am half concerned that maybe I am going to have to change that slave cylinder at some point in the future. So I am ready for that. Maybe that could happen, but you know, I'm not worried about changing a slave cylinder. Back when I was daily driving my Rover 2000 back in the early 90s, it used to go through about 2 slave cylinders a year. I don't know why, but it ate them all the time, and it got to the point I could lean under the car, not jack it up and not even look, just get a ratchet or a spanner, half-inch, bob bob ding ding, done. And this is exactly the same virtually, just on the other side of the car, so I'm not worried about that being a difficult thing. Just hope it doesn't leave me stranded somewhere. Right, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little rescue of the Volvo. VAFAD is back on the road. I've been taxing this car. Obviously it is on the road. So it's been a bit annoying being stuck on the driveway, blocking everything up for the last few days. Very much in the way. It's a big thing to be in the way. Anyway, as always, if you like this, please do like and subscribe. Subscribe is the big one. That matters a lot. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.